Okay, in this section, we are going to divide radicals divide by a monomial when we have a radical in the denominator. So remember, the only rule is you can't have a square root in the denominator. So you want to multiply it by something that will create a perfect square. So if I multiply square root of 2 times square root of 2, that's going to give me square root of 4, which makes it 2. And I've gotten rid of my radical. And whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. So I need to multiply by the square root of 2 up here. You are multiplying this by a binomial. So remember, you must distribute. And I get 2 square roots of 2 plus square roots of 10. So now I'm at this section. Can I simplify square root of 10? I cannot. So I am done. And that is my final answer. Okay, so here I have the binomial over my denominator. Let's do number 2. Okay, so on number 2, same thing. I know that I can multiply by square root of 3, and that's going to give me square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, which gives me 3 is my answer. Now, whatever I do on the bottom, I must do on the top. And I'm multiplying by a binomial, so I must distribute. So 4 times square root of 3 is 4 square roots of 3. And negative square root of 3 times square root of 3 is negative 3. I can't reduce anything, so this is my final answer. Right? Now, let's look at number 14. If I wanted to, I could multiply by square root of 18 to give me 18. But that's a big number, and I don't want to work with that. So what can I multiply by square root of 18 that's going to give me a perfect square? Well, I can multiply by square root of 2, because I know square root of 18 times square root of 2 is square root of 36, and square root of 36 is going to give me 6 is my answer. So sometimes you're going to have to come up with a number to find that perfect square, but if you can't think of it, that's okay. You can still multiply by square root of 18. You're just going to have to reduce that fraction later. So here I'm going to multiply by square root of 2 and square root of 2. Whatever I do on bottom, I do on top. Remember, you are multiplying a binomial. So 5 square roots of 2 plus square roots of 6. I can't simplify my radical, so this would be my final answer. All right, let's look at number 6. So here, what do I want to multiply to get a perfect square? So square root of 8, if I do by 2, that's 16, which is a perfect square. So I'm going to multiply by square root of 2, because that would give me a square root of 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. Don't forget, you've got to multiply 4 times 4, and that gives me 16 when I multiply everything across. Now, to rationalize, I multiply by square root of 2, so whatever I do on the bottom, I do on the top. Remember, this is a binomial, so you must distribute. 5 square roots of 2 minus square roots of 10. I can't simplify this, so that's my final answer. Okay, that's when we have a monomial, when we're dividing. That's type 1. Now, let's take a look at type 2, when we are dividing by a binomial. So when we divide by a binomial, you must multiply by the conjugate. So the conjugate, all that is, it means same terms, different sign. Here's what I want you to think of. Think of difference of squares. Difference of squares. That's all you're multiplying by. So remember, the difference of square would be 3 plus square roots of 5 times 3 minus square roots of 5. And remember, on difference of squares, that middle term canceled out, right? So when I distribute, I get 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times square roots of 5 is negative 3 square roots of 5. This is positive 3 square roots of 5. So it cancels out that middle guy, which we need to cancel out our radical. And then when you have square root of 5 times square root of 5, that's just 5, and a positive times a negative is negative 5. These guys cancel out. 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay, so that's the conjugate. You're multiplying by the conjugate to get that middle term to cancel out, and then that end term of course, that square root will go away. So the conjugate is going to be 1 plus 7 square root of 2. So when I double distribute, or box, or however you do it, 1 times 1 is 1, plus 7 square root of 2, minus 7 square root of 2. And then when you multiply negative square root of 2 times positive square root of 2, remember, 7 times 7 is 49, and then square root times square root of 2 is 2. So 49 times 2 is going to give you a negative 98. So now these guys cancel out, and I have negative 97 is my final answer. Okay? All right, let's take a look at what happens when we have, now I want to find the quotient. Well, again, you're going to multiply by the conjugate, and whatever you do on the bottom, you've got to do on the top because that's equality. So here, I'm going to multiply by square root of 5 minus square root of 3, and whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. So now, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. Here, I get negative square roots of 15. And when I multiply these guys, I get positive square roots of 15. And when you multiply these guys, you get negative 3. So that cancels out. 5 minus 3 is 2. So again, you've got to distribute 4 times square roots of 5 is 4 square roots of 5. 4 square root of 3 is negative 4 square roots of 3. Now, here, I can reduce, okay? Because I've got a 4 and a 4 and a 2. So I can take my coefficients and I can simplify everything by 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times, so 2 square roots of 5, negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2 square roots of 3. So this is my simplified final answer. Make sure you simplify your fraction. All right, let's take a look at number 11. So I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, which is 3 plus square roots of 3. Whatever you do on the bottom, you have to do on the top. And then, of course, I distribute. So I'm going to start with my denominator. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 square roots of 3. I can do it over here. Plus 3 square roots of 3. Minus 3 square roots of 3. And then minus 3. These guys cancel out. And I get 9 minus 3 is 6. And when I distribute here, I get 9 plus 3 square roots of 3. So 9 plus 3 square roots of 3. And again, I can reduce 9, 3, and 6, my coefficients. I can reduce everything by 3. So I get 3 plus square roots of 3 all over 2. Make sure you simplify your coefficients. All right, last one we'll do together is number 13. So again, I'm going to multiply by the conjugate. 5 minus square roots of 2. And then whatever you do on the bottom, you do on the top. And of course, you get 25, negative 5 square roots of 2, plus 5 square roots of 2, minus 2. These guys cancel out. 25 minus 2 is 23. And you have a binomial times a binomial, so make sure you double distribute. So you get 15 minus 3 square roots of 2, minus 5 square roots of 2, and positive 2. Here you can combine. These guys don't cancel out, which is fine, because your numerator can have a radical. So my final answer here is going to be 15 and 2 is 17, minus 8 square roots of 2. And I can't reduce anything, so this would be my final answer. Okay? So that's how you divide with a radical. If you have questions, come and see me.